A reading from the Gospel of Matthew. Jesus said, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." This is a challenging and complex excerpt from the Sermon on the Mount. Throughout the Gospel of Matthew, from which this is taken, we see Jesus having what you might call a love-hate relationship with Judaism, and particularly with the leaders of the various elements of Judaism. At various points in this Gospel, Jesus really has it in for the Pharisees and for the scribes. But there is a tacit acknowledgement of their worth in that passage. And their worth, as far as I can see, stems around the fact that they teach the law. They teach what they believe is important to God to those around them. Not just unless you keep, but unless you teach, he is saying there. There was a Roman Catholic priest who ran a parish on the south side of Chicago some decades ago, who wrote a worship song, I think we'd call it now, that had the refrain, "You'll know they are Christians by their love." And that, I think, is what Jesus is getting at. There is something important, not just about doing, but allowing others to see that we do. In other words, there is something important about setting an example. We've been living through some quite challenging times recently. All the different pressures of the lockdown, all the tragedies around the pandemic, both personal and economic, the tensions of racism which have boiled over in the last few weeks in some quite ugly ways. All of this has been a melting pot. And it's sometimes been quite hard to know what to do or even what to say in a way that can be truly effective. Jesus is calling us to show the real essence of the law, which we know is love. Our presiding bishop has called us towards the way of love or the path of love continuously, and it's a good call to be making. And that, I believe, is what lies at the heart of Jesus' testing words that we have just heard. Let's make sure that they know that we are Christians by our love. Amen.